Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. This is your host, Aminah Ahmad, and you're watching Muslim Network TV. Welcome back to NextGen, where we seek to amplify the voices of young people across the globe, young people who are making a difference across the world. Today, we have with us a phenomenal 22-year-old, two-timed published author and founder of the nonprofit organization Kalam, based in Afghanistan, doing relief work in Afghanistan, Sayeda. Sayeda, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Sayeda, you are 22 years old, like I mentioned. You have published two books. I mean, let's talk about that. Your first collection, Voices in the Void, was published in 2021, 2 years ago. How did it feel to see your poetry, your work in print for the first time?
It was surreal for a while. I think I was in shock for a good maybe 3-4 months, and I say that using the word shock lightly. I don't think I ever really, I think to this day I still don't understand, I can't understand and comprehend the fact that my words are now in fine print and are available all over the world.
Now, say that this was something that you published 2 years ago, and a lot of people stop after one book, after one collection of poetry. That's a process in itself to get your work published for the first time. But then you went again and you published another book. Now, how did your journey from Voices in the Void take you to Fragmented Her? What was that process like? What did you learn from your first book that you took to your second book?
Voices in the Void was my debut collection of poetry. It was my introduction into the world of writing, into the world of poetry and publishing. I learned a lot through my publishing my first book. When I wrote my first book, I didn't necessarily have any sort of goal in mind. The reason why I wrote it and I published it was because I felt as though my words were beneficial for others to hear. And after, seeing the responses of readers and just seeing so many people, resonate with my words, it really felt like I had this purpose and I had this need to continue to write, because I think for the first time I felt heard, but I also felt very seen, and I felt like I had made others feel seen, and that gives you a lot of purpose. And so when I wrote my second book, I wrote it with the intentions of writing about, the people that I've met, the stories that I've heard. The title is Fragmented Her, and it's fragments of the pieces of people who have, left their pieces behind on my walls. That was the intentions and the idea behind writing Fragmented Her. And I think that I've learned so much through my first book. My first book was like your firstborn baby, and you learn so much. And you learn that marketing is a huge key into publishing, and it really teaches you, how to really go about the writing process. What you may have made mistakes your first time, and the second time that's your chance to correct it. So I am grateful for my 20-year-old self for publishing Voices in the Void, because that is how Fragmented Her came to be.
Now, Sayeda, I have a copy of Fragmented Her right on my side table. That is like a comfort book in a way, but it's also very moving and it's very emotional. And from an author's perspective, what are some pieces, and I know all poetry is probably important to you, that's why you published all of it, but are there any specific pieces that you have shared, that you have written, that hold that emotional and sentimental value a bit higher than maybe some other pieces?
I will say, so the pieces in Fragmented Her, they're timeless pieces. I still go back to that book and I still think this still resonates with me. It's not like I wrote those pieces and said, oh, like these are my words now, but they won't be my words in the future. They still hold a very special place. And I want to say that Puddles in Her Palms, it's about my mother, and it's a piece that continues to hold so much value. And that's a timeless piece that I will always love. And I love that I have it in a book, so that let's say my mom were to open it, my love for her is still encased in those pages. And it's a permanent part of the world. It's available to read, and it's available to purchase. And My Puddles in Her Palms, it's about my mother. And I know that, other readers who have read it, it's probably about their mothers too, when they read it. And so My Puddles in Her Palms is definitely a piece that I genuinely love, and I love myself for writing it.
Say that I think that your writing to a lot of people has impacted them, has resonated with them. I mean, you say that it's about your mother, but when readers are looking for your work, they feel as if it speaks to them. And you're a young person, you're a Muslim woman, and you come from Afghanistan, and you're a writer, you're a poet. How can your journey help other people? You have a unique platform. How do you hope that your work can impact and resonate with readers, especially those who may want to go on the same path that you're on right now? How can you help them? What advice can you give them? I know that's a big question, but I think that you can be a big help to other young people who want to do the same work you're doing.
I think we place a huge emphasis on labels. I think that we look at ourselves in the mirrors and we go, I am a Muslim, I am a woman, I come from Afghanistan, or I come from any another country, another third world country. I think that we place a lot of labels on ourselves, and I think that without those labels, you can do anything. I think that my work hopefully will lead somebody else who may look just like me, to look in the mirror, and instead of seeing those labels, see an immense amount of possibilities and opportunities, things that they can really do. We all hold so many labels that people put on us, that people perceive, but I think that once you get rid of those labels, and you're just a person, and you can really do anything. I mean, I'm a poet, I'm an author, I'm the founder of a nonprofit organization, I'm also a student, I'm also an aspiring law student, I'm so many things. I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. All of these labels, they're really, we place so much emphasis on them, but at the end of the day, you are a human being that can really do anything once you put your mind to it. So I hope that one day my work, and my existence will inspire somebody else who may look like me and who may carry the same labels that I have, can look at themselves and not see past those labels and just see a person with hopes and with dreams that they can definitely fulfill.
Say that is so beautiful. I feel that usually when you ask someone, how can you inspire young people? They'll have, a bullet point list of how you can inspire young people. But through your existence, through your work, through the multiple identities that you hold, you inspire the young people around you. And that's beautiful. In that, you also mentioned your nonprofit organization, Kalam, a relief organization based in Afghanistan. Can you tell our audience about Kalam and what inspired you to start Kalam?
Kalam Project was founded by me, but it was founded by a league of people with hope, with passions. It was led by my mother, who gave birth to me and and pushed me to create Kalam, but also pushed me to be a good person. Kalam came to be when my parents instilled good morals, awareness of the fact that I am privileged and there are other people who are less privileged than I am, and there are people who are not privileged at all. But it is still my responsibility, as well as other people's responsibility, that we owe other people kindness and we owe other people respect and generosity. I think that that's something that's not really taught these days, but that is how Kalam was founded. That is where Kalam was born. It was born from my mother's tongue and my father's hands. That is how Kalam came to be.
Thank you, Sayeda, for telling us about Kalam, and thank you for the work that you are doing. I would love to delve into that work a little bit more right after our short break. You're all watching us on Muslim Network TV, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Galaxy 19 satellite. We'll be right back after our short break. Welcome back to NextGen. I'm here with author, poet, and founder of nonprofit organization Kalam, Sayeda. Sayeda, thank you again for being with us here today. Before our break, we talked about what inspired you to start Kalam. But tell us about the work that Kalam is actually doing in Afghanistan. What does that reach look like to the people living there, and who are we benefiting? Can we talk about that?
So the people that we aim to reach are widows, individuals who may have a disability that prevents them from working, individuals who are discriminated because of their disability and who are not hired to work. We're talking about a lot of kids and families who are now the breadwinners of families due to a loss or due to, their father or their mother being sick. We're talking about kids who are on the streets selling gum, plastic bags, polishing shoes, offering to carry people's luggage from the airport for cash. These are the people that we are trying to help. A lot of these families are disadvantaged, like many families in Afghanistan. But these kids specifically, they cannot go to school because they cannot afford an education, but they also don't have the time. It's either put food on the table for my younger siblings and my family, or go get an education and hope for the best one day and hope that somebody decides that I'm worth hiring, and that I'm worth being paid to work. A lot of, the goal is to help one family at a time. We primarily work in the capital of Kabul. We work a lot in Sadikotal, which is a region in Kabul. It's around the mountains. You have a lot of families over there living in tents. A lot of kids who wake up, at Fajr, and they leave their homes and they go to the city and they're selling plastic bags and selling gum and just on the streets, and that they themselves deserve to have a future and they deserve to get an education. They deserve to have hope. And so Qalam, what we try to do is we try to help these families so that they have other avenues to go and they have the time to go to other avenues. So they have the time to go get an education or go to school. The mission is to instill hope in people. So what we mainly do is we'll provide food packages, we'll provide financial aid. We have projects. We built a school a couple years ago. We will install water wells. A lot of it is mainly, just trying to help families live so that they have hope for the future.
The work that you are doing is not only very important, but very impactful, clearly, to the people that are living in Kabul, who are impoverished, who have disability, or who have anything in their life that is, preventing them from getting the education that they need or getting even just food on their table, which you mentioned. Share with us, Sayeda, some of the impact of the work that Kalam is doing in Afghanistan. Share with us some of those memorable moments, those success stories. I think our audience would love to hear some of the impact as well.
So there are so many stories. One that I can tell you about is we had a client who he was stranded on the street. He drove a taxi. And so he was about, I want to say 17 years old. And he was driving a taxi and it broke down and he was just sitting on a curb. It's snowing and he was just crying. Because now that his taxi had broke down, he had no way of providing for his family. He didn't have the money to fix the taxi. And so at that point, he was sitting there and he was thinking about how, he had to go home and he had to tell his younger siblings and his mom, there's nothing to eat tonight, and there's nothing to eat tomorrow night, and there's nothing to eat the day after that. And it was heartbreaking to see, but one of our volunteers came across him and he asked him, why are you sitting here? And he explained the situation to him. And we decided to fundraise and to, fix his taxi, but also provide food on their table for the next 2 months. And this allowed him to have the time to, all that save the money that he earned from driving a taxi, and to just put that, towards whatever it is that he wanted to put it towards. And so there are so many families, there are so many people who, if they were in first world countries, they would have, they would maybe work harder, or they would work harder than me. If they just had those opportunities given to them. There are so many families, so many individuals who have so much potential, but because they are living in an economy, in a country, in a land where those opportunities are not given to them, instead they're taken from them. Um, those are the kind of families that we're trying to help.
Sayeda, I also believe that operating something like this in a different region, somewhere far away, can be difficult. I mean, it comes with its own challenges. And how do you manage that? And how do you keep clarity with donors of where that funding is going?
So we understand, from a donor's perspective, the hesitation in donating to a organization that will be helping people abroad. There's a lot of scrutiny, and there's a lot of hesitation, and I completely understand that from a donor's perspective myself. And so what we try to do is, with consent, we will take videos, we'll take footage, we'll take pictures of what we are providing. So let's say we're providing food, we're providing a heater, we'll take a picture of that, we'll take videos of that. Sometimes we'll send it individually to donors. If, we'll reach out to donors one by one, and we'll ask them if that's something that they want. Some do and some don't. With consent, we'll also talk to our clients, and we'll tell them, look, this is the organization that we're running. Donors want to hear your stories. And if you feel comfortable, we can tell your stories. And some of them are, and some of them aren't. And so what we do, that's another form of proof that we provide, like this video over here. So those little boys, they were explaining to one of our volunteers that they collect plastic, and they try to find metal within garbage in the landfill in Kabul. And then they go and they try to sell it, and that is their form of income. And those boys were very young. A lot of kids, that is a lot of, a lot of lives look like that. And it's so we've tried to provide as many forms of proof that we can. We'll provide receipts as well, and we'll post it on our social media pages. Operating Qalam from here in Chicago, it's I communicate with my team every single day. They communicate with me what people's concerns are. What people really need. So it's more about, the needs of people. If somebody needs financial aid, that's what we're going to get them. If somebody needs food tonight, that is what we're going to get them. And it's donations. It's all donation based. 100% goes towards them. Everything we do is voluntarily. We don't get paid for it, but it's really, there are so many people in need, and we're just trying to do our due diligence. And it's really the donors that are playing a huge hand in people's lives. I'm just directing it. All I did was pave the path, but it's really donors that are changing people's lives.
I think that video, Sayeda, is very impactful. I mean, you have kids that should be in elementary school, had they lived in another region, or, there's nothing that is under their control, and they should be in school. They should be free of any worry, especially a responsibility that big if I have to provide for my family at that age. Now, I mean, I feel at this point there's not much more we can talk about your work when you show a video like that, when you show the work that Kalam is doing. And that work is so important. And you have paved the way for something so powerful, Sayeda. And really, that is beautiful that you have done that at a very young age. For our viewers who would like to donate, who want to contribute and help with the work that your organization is doing, where can they go to do that?
So we primarily fundraise through social media. You can check out our social media pages. Kalam Project is who we are, and you can just donate to any of the fundraisers that we're running. Soon we're going to be launching a winter fundraiser. Winters get very cold in Afghanistan. We have people literally freezing to death, and so a heater, wood is something that, blankets, coats, it's something that we try to provide to families to prevent them from freezing, which actually happens very often, unfortunately. And it's something that you don't really hear about a country in Afghanistan. You hear a lot about war and people getting killed, but you don't really hear about the fact that there are so many people who are impoverished and they are freezing because of weather conditions, and they are literally dying and getting sick because of weather conditions. And so if you want to donate, you can check out our social media pages and you can see which fundraisers we're running, and you can just donate through there.
Sayeda, thank you so much for being with us here today, sharing your story, your journey as an author, as a poet, and founder of Kalam, and telling our audience how they can help your organization. Thank you, Sayeda.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to our wonderful viewers for tuning in to NextGen. We will be back, inshallah, with another episode next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Until then, assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all.